Beats or beatniks? What are we talking about? Beats or beatniks here? Okay, I've gotten a lot of trouble. This one was, you think the other ones were questionable in their ethics. You're going to have to take this with a whole pound of salt here. This is about rendering little children into jerky. This is so ridiculous. This one has entered a realm of tastelessness that, you know, it's how could you be critical of it? It's so nonsensical. Up in the left-hand corner, we see a young girl with her hope chest, and she's handling her future baby's rattle. And then she sees in her little thought balloon, which is Valentine's, her future husband and baby, and they're still holding that little rattle. Okay, you go off to this little cheap country store filling station here, and there's some kind of ghoulish character that renders children into jerky. And then the little kid is holding that little rattle. Okay. This one might take a little explanation here. We've got a kid riding a bicycle. He's going down a main street. His head is a theater of what he sees. What he's passed is a nun scolding a drunk, a sailor kissing his girlfriend, and a dog urinating on a fire hydrant. In his mind, he's got all of this backwards. He's got the fire hydrant urinating on the nun who is kissing the dog who's the drunk. Now, the name of this painting is Theater of Snakes. This was in Playboy magazine. Okay. Okay. I know. Some of you are thinking, well, is this really like pastoral art? It's granted, it's like a little over imaginative, but I see this as conceptual realism. I just don't see any limitations to what you can think. What you can think is not what your actions are. It's not a reflection of your moral code and ethics. What we have here is Einstein, multi-Einsteins, infinite Einsteins, thinking up a way to turn a woman inside out without her perishing. A mathematical formula to turn a woman inside out. So, okay. Okay. This is about royalty that wants to be with the people. Okay? So the king in full regalia is out there plowing with the urchins, with the everyday common folk. Okay? And down here in the right-hand corner, he's using the latrine with them. Okay? He's sitting there using the latrine with some of the workers, and he's discussing things with them. Like, he's like an average Joe. See? Okay. I'm sure when you all were junior high school, you heard kids say, oh well, I didn't have my homework, the dog ate my homework. And they could keep a straight face. Well, this is a whole litany, a whole presentation on the dog eat the homework. See, up in the left-hand corner, we've got the presentation. Down here in the bottom left-hand, we've got what kind of dog would eat homework. We've got a vicious dog that's got the mind of a blind puppy. See? Then he's eating Isaac Newton and whatnot. And then over the big red and yellow thing is all of this in abstraction, expressionist abstraction, taking this to an abstract form. See? So that you will understand I am truly a painter. Okay, now, This is a pathological psychology here. I actually know this guy in this picture. He's a pathetic kind of guy. His romantic life is hanging out in strip clubs. And I've got this guy portrayed as falling in love with one of these gals in an unrequited, sad situation that can have no fruition. It can have no results. And he's allowed himself to just fall totally in love with this girl, and she eventually throws him off, so he burns down the club. And this is the name of this painting is The Firebug and the Lap Dancer. Okay? Now, you've noticed he's painted in monochromatic blue. Now, this is one of my points of discretion. See, you know how lurid that thing would be in flesh tones. Okay, this is a Picasso-style painting, Picassian painting. Picasso was big on minotaurs. And I've got a minotaur represented in an abstraction in the sky. Now down here on the right-hand side, we see a minotaur that fancies himself. He has a gender problem. And he's decided to be a ballerina. There's a conflict here, and it's an emotional, sad situation. It's going to have to be resolved one way or the other. And you see, as a ballerina, the Minotaur's failed. So he's sitting by a babbling brook, lamenting the situation. And behind him are some of his comrades, which are troglodytal minions that worship him. And they're pointing up to the sky and validating his efforts in a formation in the clouds. Okay, I don't know. I guess a lot of you people remember King Farouk. King Farouk died a long time ago. The older people in the audience would certainly remember King Farouk. King Farouk was the king of Egypt, and some people said, or he liked to think of himself as the last pharaoh. Now, King Farouk was way overweight, and all his emotional and personal desires, he had the money and the means to fulfill every desire he wanted. So he lived this impossible life of everything he wanted, every food he wanted, any girl he wanted, any car he wanted. He was this impossible person. He drove a red car, and he had the legislation in Egypt outlaw all red cars except him, so the police could see him coming and wouldn't stop him. So he was riding in one of his red cars, and he hit a tree. But he wasn't hurt, but they took him to the hospital. So they got some real pretty nurses to give him therapy. So he stayed getting this therapy for days and days. And I don't know what, you can imagine what kind of therapy, but before long he'd been in the hospital for like a couple of months with this therapy, and they started getting like nurses from England and France to come visit him to help him out with this therapy. But eventually he was assassinated. They say he died choking on some food, but I think he was assassinated. But this is a good portrait of it. Off to the right, you see a harbor in Egypt, and all the boats have fallen to the ground because there's no water. But in his mind, he's sailing off. Okay.